Welcome back to the video series about the life of Shakyamuni Buddha. In the previous episode, we heard that after the third retreat season, many Arhat bhikkhus asked the Buddha to go and propagate the Dharma everywhere. The Venerable Mahakassapa and his disciples scattered throughout Rajagaha, while other venerables such as Yasa, Nandikassapa, and Gayakassapa also split up to spread the Dharma. Some bhikkhus stayed at Bamboo Forest to take care of the new bhikkhus. The Buddha accepted many new people, including the wealthy man Sudatta, who later became known as Anathapindika because of his compassion and help for the poor. When Sudatta arrived at Rajagaha, he was not welcomed as usual because the family was preparing to welcome the Buddha. When he heard the news, Sudatta was very eager to meet him. After many difficulties, he reached the Siddhavana forest cluster, where the Buddha was waiting. Here, Sudatta attained stream entry, feeling a change in his soul. Afterwards, Sudatta requested the Buddha to return to Savatthi to spread the Dharma. He was well aware of the difficulties the Dharma would encounter in his homeland, where there were many superstitious beliefs and other sects. The Buddha assigned the responsibility to Venerable Sariput, who would assist Sudatta in establishing a study center at Savatthi. The elder Sudatta returned to Savatthi in the company of Sariputta, and they began the work of spreading the Dharma, hoping to bring the light of wisdom to those who were still ignorant. The Life of Shakyamuni Buddha, Volume 35. For several days, he boarded a horse-drawn carriage and traveled around the suburbs of Savatthi capital, but the wealthy Sudatta could not choose a suitable piece of land. The other day, he found a very beautiful garden, spacious, flat, with lakes, streams, and gentle hills. Although the mango garden is mainly for economic income, the owner also knows how to retain ancient trees with cumbersome roots and leaves, fruits, flowers, and clusters of trees with beautiful stems, beautiful leaves, or fragrant leaves. When I asked, I found out that this was the ecological garden and resort of Prince Jeta, son of King Pasenadi. Knowing that it would be very difficult, the rich man also went to the prince's palace, chose his words wisely, and asked him to seed that garden for beneficial use. Prince Jeta laughed loudly. "I know you're rich, but I'm not so short of money that I have to sell that beautiful garden, rich millionaire. I don't dare talk about buying and selling here, Your Highness." Elder Sudatta spoke in a humble voice. "Just because that garden is very suitable for establishing a monastery, I only asked the prince to open his generosity and happily cede it." Faced with Sudatta's humility, but no less fierceness, Prince Jeta wanted to raise a price to discourage this respectable, wealthy man. "Okay, my garden is more precious than gold. If the rich man brings gold leaves there and fills the garden, I will cede it to you." Having said that, Prince Jeta smiled discreetly and was about to wave his hand and leave. But it's strange. The rich man's face lit up, extremely happy. "Thank you, Your Highness. A king cannot say two words. I will do as you wish." Then at dawn the next morning, the rich man Sudatta and dozens of servants arrived with horse-drawn carriages carrying gold leaves and began to lay a golden carpet on the garden's land. Prince Jeta rushed to see. He was so surprised. What was a joke? Now it has come true. But the prince still has a hope that the rich man will lack gold. For 2 consecutive days, Prince Jeta saw no sign on the rich man's face that he was short of gold, and gold follows each chariot. Each chariot comes in turn, and dozens of servants were diligently slicing gold in dozens of meters, then hundreds of meters. What is happening? Prince Jeta wondered. Why do some people consider gold as dirt? I heard that the rich man bought this land to build a monastery. Who is that monastery for? What kind of person must this millionaire have to be to make such a powerful and terrifying donation? By the 4th day, 2 parts of the garden were already golden. When Prince Jeta arrived, he saw the rich man measuring and calculating something at the ancient tree roots. Although the prince flinched a bit, he still asked sincerely, "Star? Short of gold, right? It's not too late for the wealthy man to withdraw from this strange business." "No, it's not like that, Your Highness." The rich man Sudatta leisurely said, "I am planning to line the tree stumps taking up space on the ground with gold, and at the same time, figure out which warehouse I should transport the gold from here to have enough and the most convenient way." Prince Jeta felt goosebumps all over his body, surprised and curious. He asked the rich man about the monastery. What was the purpose of building the monastery? Elder Sudatta's eyes suddenly lit up. He intimately held the prince's hand and spoke briefly but fully about the Buddha, the Sangha, and the Dharma for the prince to hear. The rich man also expressed his feelings, revealing his completely selfless purpose. That is because we want to serve civilization and culture for this country, for this homeland of ours. For a long time, Your Highness must have seen how pagans are rampant, how they are buying gods and selling saints. Rich people and a strong country are not enough. We need a holy, pure, and healthy Dharma to help many people escape ignorance and fanaticism. It is necessary to have true spiritual values to rely on in this life and that life. In the country of Magadha, the capital city of Rajagaha, King Senia Bimbisara, the court and thousands of royal families and nobles converted to the Blessed One and the Holy Sangha. Oh, how happy is that country! In conclusion, wealthy man Sudatta happily said, "Thank you very much, Your Highness, for generously giving me this precious garden. Tomorrow, after construction is complete, I will dedicate all of this work to the Buddha and the Sangha of the 10 directions." So Your Highness's merit is also very great. Prince Jeddah felt very ashamed of the greatness of the wealthy man who dared to exchange gold for land, to line the bottom and honor such noble spiritual values on top. What about me? Am I an ordinary person who only knows how to have gold? Stop, dear rich man, Prince Jeddah hurriedly said. That's enough. There's no need to add more gold. The land is now yours, but please let me contribute a little merit, okay? Your Highness, keep talking. The garden land is yours and the trees are mine. The prince slowly said, later, when the monastery is completed, will you let me share in a little glory, hiding behind your shadow? Overjoyed, wealthy man Sudatta said, very pleased, Your Highness. Great. The tree is an offering from His Highness. The garden land is my contribution. Great. Then, with the advice of the Venerable Sariputta, the construction project was carried out. Proceeded hastily from the Venerable Sariputta's drawings, over several months with thousands of workers, and the materials just keep coming. Due to learning from experience in bamboo forest, the scale at this monastery space is more spacious and living amenities are more convenient. According to the general plan, it includes 20 separate areas reserved for thousands of visiting monks, a lecture house for the lay community, a meeting house, a meeting place for monks, monks' precepts, cafeterias, guest houses, hospitals, warehouses, dozens of water wells, dozens of toilets, dozens of bathrooms, half equipped with fireplaces, thousands of large and small water tanks, dozens of treatment places. Waste management. In addition, we also dredge and clean the streams, plant water lilies in the lakes, build walking paths, and stone benches scattered throughout the park. In particular, the Buddha's incense room was made of sandalwood, beautiful and comfortable. There are about 100 cups of liao reserved for elders, 500 cups of liao for resident monks. Far away from monastery gate, wealthy man Sudatta also built a poor house to help the poor and hungry 4 times a month. There is also a place specifically for birds and crows to eat leftovers. In order to protect and take care of the project, the wealthy man also plans to recruit 50 dedicated laborers to regularly live here, with a separate house for them. The amount of work is huge and takes a lot of time. Fearing that the Buddha would no longer be able to visit monastery and then return to settle in bamboo forest as promised to King Senia Bimbisara, the Venerable Sariputta came to say goodbye to the wealthy man Sudatta. We need to go pick up the world-honored one. As for the work here, you just follow the general and detailed plan. Somewhere there have been landmarks and clear directions. Very grateful to the Venerable, Sudatta said with a radiant face. Everywhere is very complete, very beautiful. He hesitated for a moment and then continued. I heard there are good and bad days and times, good directions, bad directions, and even feng shui. I'm not sure how the master's teachings view that. Venerable Sariputta smiled and replied, the world-honored one's teachings only focus on the inside of people, the diseases, afflictions, suffering, and the remedies to treat them. As for external conditions affecting from the outside, they are secondary and dependent. The world-honored one mentioned when it came to the laws of the universe. that is, the forces, the words, and the interacting gases of all things, but in the end, it's not very important. What are these laws, Venerable Sir? Oh, please think about it. Sun and rain, day and night, hot and cold, 3 seasons of the year. The effects of the sun and moon affect lakes, rivers, humans, animals, plants. These seemingly natural movements of the weather, earth, and sky are governed by laws. That is called the law of the inorganic physical world, utuniyama. Furthermore, the laws operating in the cellular world of animals and plants cause each variety to give birth to the same. Oranges become oranges, tangerines become tangerines, genetic bloodline, child resembles parents, affects intelligence and wisdom is called the law of the organic physical world, bijaniyama. Then, the third law is the law of dharma, dhammaniyama, quite difficult to understand. It governs the dharma realm, all sentient and inanimate inhabitants of the earth. Speaking up to this point, Venerable Sariputta slowly and intimately continued. Does the millionaire know? When sitting under the Bodhiruka tree, the world-honored one turned his face to the east. That is the direction of clear energy, positive energy. It will provide good support for the body's vitality. During the third watch, when lying down and resting on his back for the first half of the night, our venerable master often turned his head to the north, bent and stretched his legs to the south, his back turned to the east, his face turned to the west because he knew Dui. The words, forces, and chi of the universe in the 8 directions can support human chi. That means the master clearly understands the rules, attraction, repulsion, and interaction of words and gases. The forces, the laws of dharma, should have followed those natural laws of operation. If favorable is good, if contrary is unpleasant, it can cause unnecessary blood and energy disturbances. Therefore, it can be said that our omniscient Buddha clearly knows all the so-called geography and astronomy. The technical term is called feng shui, good and bad days, good and bad directions that the rich man has mentioned. Elder Sudatta said confusedly, so there are good and bad days and hours, good and bad directions for home and land, as Brahmin teachers have taken advantage of to make money for people in the past? Yes! But the good and bad on the outside are not as important as the good and bad from the human heart. I understand, disciple. The teachings of the Venerable Master are the teachings to eliminate suffering. Clearly seeing dukkha and eliminating dukkha are important. Other related external conditions are secondary. I understand, disciple. But when we build a residence for the Buddha and the Sangha, should we follow the natural laws of the universe, or just arbitrarily create unnecessary opposition? That's right. Disciple has understood. No wonder the world-honored one nominated the Venerable to advise his disciples to build the great monastery of monastery. Venerable Sariputta smiled modestly. The world-honored one is the master, the transcendent master in many fields. You know clearly that when I was a young man, thanks to being the head of a Brahmin school, in the fields of architecture, geography, astronomy, feng shui, naturalism, I was a teacher for hundreds of subjects. Dude, of course it is. There are 2 more laws, rich man. These are the law of mind, siddhaniyama, and the law of karma, kamaniyama. When we judge, reason, recall, imagine, or internal factors, psychological states progress in a cause and effect order that governs the conscious and unconscious activities of humans, all belonging to the field of the law of the mind. Telepathic phenomena, knowing the past and future, even the heavenly eyes, heavenly ears, and other minds, also come from this law. Students of Buddhist teachings must clearly understand this rule to gradually lead the mind from low to high states, from coarse to subtle, and then even more subtle. Finally, use your mind very skillfully for the happiness of yourself and others. What a miracle! Furthermore, the law of cause and effect karma, in full, is the cause of karma and the result of karma. Here are conscious, intentional actions and psychological reactions. In other words, when we think, act, or speak based on good or bad things, it must be moral and ethical. Then we have created the cause of karma, and it will happen the retribution of karma. The Buddha especially emphasized this law because it is here that karma and the cessation of karma, suffering and the cessation of suffering occur. Venerable Sudatta, now do you understand why the Master's teachings only focus on dukkha and the cessation of dukkha without mentioning geography, astronomy, or feng shui? Gratitude to the Venerable. Elder Sudatta bowed his head, grateful. Although he did not fully understand the meaning of the Venerable Sariputta's dedicated teachings, he felt uneasy in his heart, and his mind became increasingly brighter. Now the rich man can truly see clearly the great disciple's superior stature in terms of knowledge of external scriptures as well as internal scriptures. Therefore, the faith in him, about the Buddha, about this dharma, about this sangha, is growing stronger, more stable, more solid. In early March, 584 BC, the Venerable Sariputta left behind the unfinished monastery and set out to welcome the Buddha. It's the end of spring, it's not too hot, you can walk around easily, but suddenly, thinking about the distance of more than 70 yojanas, about 840 kilometers today, from Rajagaha to Savatthi, if he traveled 1 yojana every day, it would take nearly 3 months, so he had to use supernatural powers. However, when he stopped at Vasali to hold alms bowls, the Venerable caught a glimpse of the silhouettes of yellow-robed monks. Focusing his mind, knowing that the Buddha and the monks had arrived here 3 days ago and were resting at Mahavana, great forest, the Venerable came to him, paid respects, and asked for his health. Buddha smiled happily. Knowing that he would go to pick up Tathagata only kept Moggallana, Badiya, old, Uruvela Kassapa to look after bamboo forest with about 500 bhikkhus. Of the remainder, more than 1,500 bhikkhus have come with Tathagata to meet you. How's it going? How is the construction work of the great monastery going, master teacher and architect? The Venerable Sariputta heard the Buddha's question and knew that he understood everything, but the Venerable also reported everything step by step. How good? Buddha praised, you have had the merit of designing monastery on a larger scale, more convenient for living, with a broader vision. Very good, very good. That is truly the second capital, the base, the second ground for the Dharma to develop deeply and widely throughout the northwestern region of Jambudvipa. After noon, Venerable Sariputta met again, Venerable Asaji, Venerable Vappa, Venerable Mahanama, Venerable Nadi Kassapa, Venerable Gaya Kassapa, Venerable Mahakassapa, and Venerable Kadadai, Badiya, Ananda, Devadatta, all together. Number of you in the Sakya royal family too. Buddha said to Sariputta, Mr. Kadadai, Badiya, Sakya lineage, and several hundred monks traveling in the states of Lichavi, Vaji, Vidiha, Mala, Maurya, saw that the masses were very good with a lot of faith. But when they went begging for alms and met the opportunity to preach, they encountered 2 major difficulties and obstacles. First, the nobility and generals there were very arrogant. It's not easy to speak well, it's not easy to make those very hard heads soft and submissive. Second is the theoretical problem of sect leaders, sect teachers, and some scholars and Brahmin homeowners inside and outside the tradition. They slither like eels, very cunning and cunning. They can reason an elephant through the eye of a needle, can reason a camel into a white dog quite easily. Then, they said that because they had not studied theory, they had to give up. Now they are asking Tathagata for help. As a senior disciple, do you have any comments? Venerable Sariputta humbly, Disciple, don't dare. The world-honored one knows everything, and the world-honored one knows even more clearly that there are many subjects that Tathagata's messengers on the path of propagation need to learn deeply and understand widely in order to convert pagans and win over many different classes, to enter the heart of the world and the hearts of people. What subjects are these, Sariputta? The Buddha seemed interested. Can you explain it to Tathagata, the high-ranking people and the public here? Knowing that the Buddha did not want to test his knowledge, but only wanted to teach the world to everyone, the Venerable boldly stated, World-honored one. The Venerable raised his eloquent voice like the sound of a bronze bell ringing far away for the crowd to hear. Theory, even the subject of theory itself, is not simple. The sages Kadudai and Badiya were not ordinary figures. One person was born as a prominent mandarin. One was a governor and chief judge of illustrious reputation. However, when entering the theoretical arena, it is possible to have dialogue with intellectuals and cunning scholars. We must go through the Nivaya school of theory, one of the 6 traditional Vedas, to know how to use words, expressions, missing subjects, presence of subjects, active and passive verbs, sentences, how to ask questions, how to pose a problem, construct, assume, establish, how to make a proposition, open clause, closed clause, anti-clause, pro clause. It's very cumbersome and complicated. Usually the way we speak in common language is mainly to exchange information, but all it takes is one cunning hand and one's tongue to ask again and we'll be at a loss. So first of all, the Tathagata messengers must know how to be perfectly equipped with this theoretical subject, and only the world-honored one is capable of teaching all disciples everywhere and everywhere. Buddha smiled. For example, what kind of statement and what kind of question can make Tathagata's disciples confused, Sariputta? You can say anything, world-honored one. For example, the disciple said, "I go begging for alms." The other person immediately scoffed. How could he beg for food? Again, what is begging? What is real? So they said, that statement is wrong. That clause is dark. The language is ambiguous. It is not clear what information is being sent. For example, the disciple said, "Raindrops fall." The other person immediately retorted, "What is a seed? Corn kernels, rice grains." Grain can always refer to a seed, an organic sprout. Rain is liquid. There are no seeds in it. Again, is rain a verb or a subject? If it is a verb, what motive does it have? If it were the subject, wouldn't rain fall on its own? So the statement, "raindrops fall," is untenable. The words and meaning are wrong. The proposition is wrong. They can pull out every word, and turn it around and around, which is very annoying, mostly just to provoke us, making us lose our composure and let our guard down. So they clapped, boasted, laughed hysterically to mock and consider themselves victorious. Venerable Buddha. Disciples can give hundreds or thousands of similar examples. The ancient discipline of theory has equipped Brahmin commentators and wandering monks with basic knowledge. At the same time, Toa only shows how to speak and ask questions in a clever way so that they can master the art of showing off their tongue skills, retorting each other every inch like that. Therefore, that subject, Buddhist monks and disciples, must also know clearly to avoid being deceived and falling into their tricks. That's right, the Buddha said, in terms of theory, it seems that he, Moggallana, and Maha Kassapa were very well equipped from their youth, so it was very easy for them to travel here and there to propagate the Dharma. However, Tathagata wants to make up for the shortcomings of that subject, later called human wisdom, by clearly distinguishing between right and wrong, true and false. And the ability to reason, interpret, and argue requires leaving mere knowledge to return to a life of practice, experience, and true enlightenment, which is the strength and possession of Tathagata's disciples. So what other subjects need to be learned, Sariputta? The second subject is already available in traditional education, which is our mathematics, arithmetic, measurement, geometry, literature, poetry, science, physics, biology, natural studies, history, philosophical ideas inside and outside the Veda tradition, later called cunning wisdom, to have diverse and rich knowledge to easily talk to many classes in society. The third subject is one of the four analytical wisdoms, which means language ability, must be fluent in grammar, syntax, and expression, must be accurate and transparent, later called clarity. Fourth, you must learn to know the basics of the human body, the operation of blood, meridians, and acupuncture points related to the 6 organs, and organs to know how to massage and acupressure to self-heal yourself and others. Brotherhood. Again, it is necessary to know some medicinal herbs to treat common diseases. If that is not possible, then you should also know how to regulate your diet and sleep, and know how to preserve your body through the seasons or when it is unusually cold or hot. Later, Yifuang Min. Fifth, we must listen a lot and learn a lot through the teachings of the World-Honored One, through those who have been allowed by the World-Honored One to precept the monks, later called inner insight. Venerable Buddha. Venerable Sariputta continued, "What a talkative disciple. Those 5 subjects are currently not very necessary. Why is that? Because the respected elders and hundreds of disciples of the World-Honored One are all elite intellectuals. They have already fully equipped themselves. Moreover, they can also preach morality, concentration, and wisdom to everyone, which is the most vivid and realistic sermon. They can also preach about patience, compassion, and equanimity on the path to saving living beings. They can also preach a life of proletariat, poverty, lack of desires, contentment, mindfulness, and awareness in every step and in every breath. They are hundreds of times, thousands of times more beautiful than all methods of saving lives through theory, language, literature, or the profession of a physician. Very good, very wonderful, Sariputta. Buddha praised, "You have understood the Dharma very well. Deep Dharma, shallow Dharma, inner Dharma, outer Dharma, front Dharma, next Dharma, so it has been presented very accurately. Bhikkhus must sincerely accept and uphold today's story." Indeed, Sariputta monks. The Tathagata also knows much more than that. For example, just 4 dharmas are enough. For example, 6 dharmas are enough. For example, 4 foundations of mindfulness are enough. For example, 7 factors of enlightenment are enough. For example, 5 nud. The 5 powers are enough. For example, the 8 path factors are enough. For example, the paramitas are enough. But it's not the right time to say it. Not the right time. Resting for a moment, the Buddha continued, "Early tomorrow we will leave for Savatthi." Now the Tathagata divides as follows. Mahakassapa, with 250 monks, are divided among themselves, scattered in this state of Licchavi, where there are stubborn generals, most and some of the most tongue-tied Brahmins. Nadikassapa and Gayakassapa were still very healthy, so they led 250 monks to travel to the farthest region, the state of Maurya. At Mala, in the immediate front, Kadudai and Badia and 250 monks were in charge. In the northeast, the state of Videha, please ask Asaji and Vipa and 250 bhikkhu to accept the task. Buddha, Sariput, Mahanam and Deer Park, Ananda, Devadatta, Kimbila, Bhagu, Anuruddha, along with 500 bhikkhu, do not need to visit Kapilavatthu but direct Savatthi do. Dear ladies and gentlemen, you have just listened to the video about the life of Buddha Shakyamuni, adapted from the work A Life, a Sun and Moon by Master Geoy Duck. This video series will be broadcast at 7 p.m. every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on the YouTube channel Buddhist Story. We sincerely thank you for watching. To not miss the next episodes, remember to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. If you find the content useful, please share this video with your relatives and friends. All your comments are very valuable to us. Please leave comments below the video so we can discuss and share together. Thank you, and see you again in the next episodes of the video series, The Life of Buddha Shakyamuni.